For years, the Los Angeles Chargers have been the NFL's ultimate cautionary tale, a franchise with elite talent that somehow always found new ways to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. But what if I told you that right now, all that is about to change? What if the same organization that blew a 27-point lead in the playoffs finally discovered the secret ingredient they'd been missing all along? Well, by the end of this video, you'll understand why the Chargers have built something that can actually last, and how a single hire changed the trajectory of an entire organization. But first, we need to understand just how cursed this franchise really was. Frenzies, let's dive in. The Los Angeles Chargers have spent the better part of 2 decades turning hope into heartbreak with surgical precision. Since 2006, this organization has been the masterclass in how to waste elite talent. They've had Hall of Fame running backs, elite quarterbacks, and defensive stars that other teams would kill for. Yet somehow, they always found ways to lose the games that mattered most. The pattern was always the same: build expectations, show flashes of brilliance, then collapse when the lights got brightest. In 2018, they went 12-4 and looked like a legitimate Super Bowl contender. They won their first playoff game in 5 years against Baltimore, then got dismantled by the Patriots in the divisional round. 1 step forward, 2 steps back. But nothing prepared Chargers fans for what happened on January 14, 2023. Leading the Jacksonville Jaguars 27-0 late in the second quarter of the wildcard round, the Chargers had finally done it. They were going to win a playoff game convincingly and advance to the divisional round. Except they didn't. Trevor Lawrence, who had thrown 4 interceptions in the first half, led the most improbable comeback in playoff history. The Jaguars scored 31 of the final 34 points to win 31-30, completing one of the largest postseason collapses in NFL history. But this wasn't just another disappointing loss. This was the moment that broke something fundamental within the organization. What followed was even worse. The 2023 season became a complete meltdown. The team that had just made the playoffs limped to a 5-12 record. Head coach Brandon Staley was fired with 3 games left in the season. The defense that had shown promise completely fell apart. And by December, it was clear that the entire regime needed to go. The question wasn't just about finding a new coach. The question was whether this franchise was fundamentally cursed. Whether some organizations are just destined to find new ways to break their fans' hearts. But what the Chargers didn't know was that their salvation was coaching 2,000 miles away in Ann Arbor, Michigan, having just completed one of the most impressive seasons in college football history. Jim Harbaugh has built his career on taking struggling programs and turning them into contenders. His track record isn't just about winning games. It's about fundamentally changing the culture and expectations of entire organizations. At Stanford, he inherited a program that had struggled for years and transformed them into a consistent winner. During his time with the San Francisco 49ers, from 2011 to 2014, he immediately elevated a franchise that had been irrelevant for nearly a decade. In his first season, the 49ers reached the NFC Championship game. Over the next 3 years, they made 3 consecutive NFC Championship games and 1 Super Bowl appearance. When Michigan hired Harbaugh in 2015, the Wolverines had become secondary players in their own conference. They were regularly losing to their biggest rivals and failing to compete for championships. Harbaugh changed that trajectory, ultimately leading Michigan to an undefeated season and the 2023 National Championship. His overall record of 94-25 at Michigan demonstrated sustained success at the highest level. But the Chargers represented a different kind of challenge. This wasn't just about installing new systems or improving talent evaluation. This was about breaking a psychological barrier that had defined the franchise for years. This was about teaching an organization how to stop finding ways to lose and start finding ways to win when games were on the line. Harbaugh's first moves revealed his approach. He hired Joe Hortiz as general manager, bringing him directly from the Baltimore Ravens organization. He hired Jesse Minter as defensive coordinator, the same coordinator who had just helped Michigan win a national championship. For offensive coordinator, he brought in Greg Roman, a coach known for designing systems that could adapt to quarterback strengths while establishing strong running games. The early returns from the 2024 season suggested that Harbaugh's approach was working. The Chargers improved dramatically, going 11-6 and earning a playoff spot. The defense became the stingiest scoring unit in the NFL, allowing just 17.7 points per game. Justin Herbert showed improved efficiency and leadership. The team that had collapsed the year before was suddenly competing with anyone. But one playoff loss to Houston reminded everyone that building sustainable success takes time. The question wasn't whether Harbaugh could improve the Chargers. The question was whether he could build something that would hold up under the intense pressure of playoff football. And that's where the real transformation was about to begin. The 2025 Los Angeles Chargers represent something this franchise has rarely possessed: organizational alignment from top to bottom. This isn't just about having better players or more creative schemes. This is about building systems that can function at the highest level regardless of circumstances. The transformation starts with protecting Justin Herbert. For years, one of the biggest limitations on Herbert's ceiling was an offensive line that couldn't consistently give him time to operate. When Rashawn Slater suffered a season-ending patella tendon injury during the offseason, it could have been devastating. Instead, it became an opportunity to discover something special. Joe Alt, the 5th overall pick in the 2024 draft, had spent his rookie season learning right tackle. When Slater went down, Alt moved to the left side and immediately demonstrated why he was drafted so highly. His combination of size, athleticism, and technique gave Herbert the kind of protection that franchise quarterbacks need to reach their potential. The addition of Mekhi Becton on a 2-year, $20 million contract brought both talent and championship experience to the interior line. Becton had shown flashes of renewed form in Philadelphia after battling injuries with the Jets, and Harbaugh's staff believed they could unlock his upside. His presence gave the Chargers the kind of depth that allows offensive coordinators to be aggressive with their play calling. The receiving corps evolved in equally important ways. Ladd McConkey had already established himself as a reliable target during his rookie season, finishing with 82 receptions for 1,149 yards and 7 touchdowns. But the real story was the return of Keenan Allen. The veteran receiver who had spent 2024 in Chicago came back to Los Angeles on a 1-year deal that reunited him with Herbert. The chemistry between Herbert and Allen, built over years of working together, was immediately apparent. Add Trey Harris, the second-round pick whose 6'2" frame brings a different dimension to the passing game, and their 2023 first-round pick, Quentin Johnson, who can stretch the field, and suddenly the Chargers had the kind of receiving depth that can stress any defense. Perhaps most importantly, the backfield gained the kind of physicality that championship teams require. Omarion Hampton, selected 22nd overall out of North Carolina, brought a combination of speed and power that the Chargers had been missing. His college production spoke for itself: 1,660 rushing yards and 15 touchdowns while averaging 5.9 yards per carry in his final season. But offensive improvement was only half of the equation. Jesse Minter was about to show why his reputation as a defensive innovator was well-deserved. Championship organizations aren't built solely through talent acquisition and scheme implementation. They're built through establishing a culture that demands excellence while providing the support structure necessary for players to reach their potential. For years, the Chargers had been missing that crucial foundation. Harbaugh's impact on organizational culture became apparent immediately. Veterans began holding teammates accountable in ways that hadn't happened consistently before. The kind of comfortable mediocrity that allowed talented players to coast was replaced with an environment where every practice rep mattered and every detail was evaluated. This wasn't about being harsher or more demanding for its own sake. This was about creating an environment where players understood that individual success was directly connected to team success, where veterans took responsibility for teaching younger players not just techniques, but the mental approach required to succeed under pressure. The leadership structure evolved around players who had proven they could perform in crucial moments. Derwin James became someone who could demand excellence from teammates because he consistently demonstrated it himself. Herbert began showing the kind of vocal leadership that franchise quarterbacks need to provide when games are on the line. Most importantly, the organization developed the kind of mental resilience that allows teams to respond to adversity rather than being overwhelmed by it. The playoff loss that ended the 2024 season, while disappointing, didn't fracture the team or create finger-pointing. Instead, it became motivation to identify weaknesses and address them systematically. This cultural evolution was visible in how the team approached the 2025 season opener against Kansas City. Rather than just hoping things would improve, they showed up with a plan and belief. Players understood their roles, coaches had clear plans for development, and the organization had aligned around a shared vision of what success looked like. In that opener, Herbert's performance, 318 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, completing 73.5% of his passes, wasn't just about individual excellence. It was about a quarterback with better protection, support, and receiving options delivering when it mattered. But individual games, no matter how impressive, don't win divisions or lead to playoff success. Sustained excellence over a full season does, and that's where the Chargers' advantages in 2025 become most significant. The AFC West has been dominated by the Kansas City Chiefs for the better part of a decade. They've won the division repeatedly, made multiple Super Bowl appearances, and established themselves as the standard for organizational excellence. But 2025 may represent one of the best opportunities for a challenger to emerge that the division has seen in years. The Chiefs, while still dangerous with Patrick Mahomes leading the way, are showing more vulnerability than in their peak years. Key players are aging, the supporting cast around Mahomes has inconsistently performed, and there are questions about whether depth, especially along the offensive line, is as reliable as it once was. They remain a playoff team, but they may no longer be the overwhelming favorite they once were. The other teams in the division haven't established themselves as consistent threats. Denver has talented pieces, but continues to make questionable decisions in crucial moments. Las Vegas is still searching for identity and consistency under evolving leadership. Neither team has demonstrated the kind of sustained excellence necessary to challenge for division titles. The Chargers, meanwhile, have built something that appears designed to better withstand the unavoidable challenges of a full NFL season. Their offensive line depth gives them more confidence that Herbert can be protected even if injuries strike. Their defensive system maximizes available talent rather than relying entirely on individual stars. Their running game provides the balance that keeps defenses honest and controls the clock when necessary. Most importantly, they have coaching stability and system continuity that allows players to focus on execution rather than learning new concepts. Harbaugh isn't installing a completely new approach. He's refining and improving what worked in 2024 while addressing the specific weaknesses that were exposed. The early evidence suggests his approach is working. The victory over Kansas City in the season opener provided a blueprint for what this team can become. Herbert's 318 yards and 3 touchdowns while completing 73% of his passes demonstrated a quarterback who has finally reached his potential. Joe Alt's first game starting at left tackle highlighted how quickly he adjusted to protecting Herbert's blindside, showing why Chargers trusted him to step in after Rashawn Slater's injury. This is what organizational transformation looks like when it's nearing its prime. The Chargers haven't just improved their talent level, they've begun shifting identity from a team that frequently found new ways to lose to one that expects to win. They've developed greater depth, clearer systems, and a mental approach that can succeed under pressure. The window for championship contention in the NFL is typically brief and unpredictable. Teams that wait for perfect circumstances often wait too long. The Chargers have reached the point where their window isn't just open, it may be as wide as it's been in recent memory, and they finally have the leadership to take advantage of it. For the first time in recent memory, the Los Angeles Chargers have built something that looks sustainable. This isn't another collection of talented individuals hoping to exceed the sum of their parts. This is an organization that has fundamentally changed how it approaches every aspect of football operations. The transformation is visible in ways that extend beyond wins and losses. The team that once wilted under pressure now creates pressure for opponents. The quarterback who too often carried the burden without support is now making the kind of plays that define franchise leaders. The defense that gave up big plays at the worst times now produces stops in key moments and generates turnovers that shift momentum. The victory over Kansas City in the season opener provided a blueprint for what this team can become. Herbert's 318 yards and 3 touchdowns while completing 73% of his passes demonstrated a quarterback who had finally reached his potential. Rookie Joe Alt's steady debut protecting Herbert's blindside highlighted how much stronger the offensive line has become. The defense's ability to disrupt Mahomes for stretches of the game showed they can compete with any offense. But more than the individual performances, it was the way the Chargers won that felt different. They didn't need miraculous plays or fortunate breaks. They simply executed better than their opponent for 4 quarters. They looked like the more prepared team, the more confident team, and ultimately, the better team. That's what championship organizations do. They don't just win games. They win them in ways that make it clear they're operating at a different level than their competition. The Chargers have reached that point under Jim Harbaugh's leadership. The coach who transformed Stanford, San Francisco, and Michigan has begun the same process in Los Angeles. The franchise that perfected the art of heartbreak has finally learned the fundamentals of consistent success. While championships aren't guaranteed, the foundation for sustained excellence has never been stronger. The Los Angeles Chargers aren't just positioned to win the AFC West in 2025. They're building something that can compete for championships for years to come. The era of disappointment is ending. The age of expectation has begun. Frenzies, we'll catch you in the next one.